The interior of the hut seems to heat up suddenly like a furnace as Kioni made the bold declaration. "I met someone who has the answers to our problems," Kioni said thoughtfully. "Really? Who was it?" his father asked. "I don't know her. She came to me suddenly in the field. She's an old woman, and she spoke kindly," Kioni explained. "What did she say?" his father asked curiously. "She gave me 2 riddles to solve for us to be very wealthy, and told me I must find the answer in 2 days. Otherwise," Kioni said reluctantly. He was afraid of telling his father the consequences of not being able to answer the riddle. The words of the old woman echoed in his mind.
"But if you take up the challenge and you couldn't get the answers, your family's fate will be worse than it already is. Are you ready to take up this challenge?"
"Otherwise what?" his father asked. "Never mind, Papa. I need to find the answers, that's all." "Let's hear it," his mother, who had been listening quietly, said. Kioni took a deep breath and spoke confidently. "The first quest. I can fly without wings, cry without eyes. Whenever I go, darkness flies. What am I?" "I know it, I know it," Amani spoke up suddenly. Everyone looked at her with expectation. "It's a shoe." Her listeners' expectations deflated. "It can't be a shoe, Amani," Kioni said with disappointment. "You don't know that. It's a shoe," Amani insisted. "Explain," her mother said. Sometimes our shoe flies when it's not well buckled." "And what about the darkness part?" Kioni interrupted, laughing slightly. Amani stuttered. "When we walk in the dark, the noise the shoe makes scares the darkness away." Her family laughed. "No, it's not," Kioni said. "It is," Amani replied, and they began to argue. "Enough," their father said sharply. "What's the second riddle?" "The second quest," Kioni said. "The more you take, the more you leave behind. What am I?" Everyone looked at Amani, expecting some answers from her. She sank to the floor, confused. "But Papa," Kioni said, "haven't you heard anything like this before?" "No, I have not. But I know of a very old sage living in the heart of Ngaya forest. He can answer any riddle." "We can ask around. I'm sure our neighbors will know the answer," Amani said nervously, looking scared. The thought of them going to the Ngaya forest was alarming to her. "I have just 2 days," Kioni said dejectedly. "It's too close to be wandering about looking for answers. It's our chance to be rich, and we can have whatever we want. We can live in a real house with bricks, eat what we like, return back to school, and Mama will no longer need to sell maize at the market, nor would Papa work so hard at the mines. I will go to the Ngaya forest." "No, you won't," Amani cried. "I heard there are lions in the thick forest and crocodiles in the river. Papa, please go instead of Kioni. You are stronger and will be able to kill any dangerous animal on your way." Their father bowed his head in confusion. What if Kioni was only imagining this? What if he slept in the field and all he said was just a dream? "Kioni," he said, "you are of age. Are you sure of what you are saying? Are you sure you were not dreaming?" "No, Papa, it wasn't a dream. I saw the woman." Kioni replied. "We are not doing this," his father said, standing up. "I don't trust the woman. It could be a trick from some wicked spirits. We will not do anything that will compromise our standards in this house." Kioni opened his mouth wide. His father is not aware that failure to find the answers after accepting the challenge will lead to problems for the family. "We have to do this, Papa. Not only because of the wealth, but..." Kioni pleaded, stammering. "But what?" his mother asked. "It's like a vow. If we don't do this, we will all be in trouble." They stared at him in shock. "Speak up, boy. What do you mean?" his father barked. "I took up the challenge. Now we have to find the answers, or we will be poorer than this." "What?" Kioni's family shouted together. Even Zuri screamed from where she was sitting on the bare floor. Their father laughed slowly. "Kioni," he said, "what have you done this time? You have been communicating with some spirit beings in the field, and now you've ruined us all. How many times have I told you to stay out of trouble?" His father was angry now, and his mother stared at him scornfully. "I didn't look for trouble, Papa. I helped her carry her load, and the riddles were my reward for helping her." Kioni defended himself against all their piercing gazes. "It's a good thing to always help others, but what's a reward?" Kioni's mother replied. "Is this a reward or more trouble? These beings cannot be trusted." "No, Mama, I trust this one. The woman was very patient and kind. I am ready to take responsibility for this. I will find the sage in Ngaya," Kioni replied solemnly. "But can't you go, Papa? You are bigger and stronger," Amani asked. "Not so, Amani. I would love to go and save this family, but the sage has been living in the hills for many years. No person older than 20 years of age can see him. He only attends to younger people in order to teach them. But the way, I'm afraid, is quite dangerous," her father replied. Kioni stood firm on the ground. "With God's help, I'll come back safely, Papa. I'm doing this," he said with determination. "Aren't we tired of living this way?" They were all silent for a while, thinking about Kioni's question. They were indeed tired of their lifestyle. "Please, let's give this a try," Kioni's mother pleaded with her father. "We could be lucky, and fortune could smile on us." "Tomorrow we set out then," Kioni's father replied, putting his hand on his shoulder to reassure him that all would be well. They all stared quietly at the fireplace. The next day, Kioni's father hired a guide who will escort them to the base of the hills in the Ngaya forest, where the wise sage, who could hold the answers to Kioni's riddles, lived. They set out very early in the morning, before his sisters woke up, to avoid Kioni changing his mind when they start to cry. Only his mother bade them farewell. "Kioni," his father spoke to him on the way, "do not be afraid. Just focus and refuse any distraction. Indeed, your success in this journey will be our pathway to the good life we have always dreamed of." After walking for up to half an hour, the guide finally spoke. "Here we are. We are joining this vehicle that will take us to Ngaya." They all joined the vehicle, and in 15 minutes, the journey started. The landscape was beautiful, and Kioni soon got caught up in the serene atmosphere. His father explained the history of each place they passed by, and he listened intently. He will have the opportunity to learn more when he returns back to school. The thought of going back to a private school made him happy. They got down at the edge of the forest and began their long walk to the distant hills where the sage lived. "Papa, how long do you think this journey will take me?" Kioni asked. "Akelo," his father called the guide. "You heard his question." "Well, it depends on how quickly you are able to overcome the challenges on the way to the hills where the sage lives. By the way, his name is Mukasa. Make sure you salute him by that name when you get there," Akelo replied. "Are there truly wild animals in the forest?" Kioni asked briefly, remembering he had only 2 days to complete his challenge. The guide Akelo laughed shortly. "Are you thinking of going back? Boys younger than you have visited the sage many times. With focus, like your father said, you will overcome. Only the distracted get lost." "Was there any record of anyone who didn't come back?" Kioni's father asked. "Only a few, but their family believe they are still alive, serving in the forests when they couldn't find their way back again. Follow the path of your conscience, Kioni, and you will return safely." Akelo smiled at Kioni, reassuring him. The guide's words echoed in his heart. Kioni hopes he will meet any of the lost boys serving in the forest. They could guide him to the sage, and together they can find their way back. They reached the base of the hills after walking for half an hour. The guide turned to Kioni. "My son, this is where your journey begins. Your father and I will go back now. Follow this path and look for the wise man, Mukasa, on the mountain of whispers. Only he can guide you to the answers you seek. May you be guided by light." Kioni's father hugged him. "Go and make us proud," he said, patting his shoulder, and left with the guide without looking back. It was difficult for him to let go of his only son, but he was left with no choice as Kioni had taken up the challenge. They have just 2 days. Armed with nothing but a sack of provisions and his courage, Kioni set out immediately.